All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Tuesday, September 16th regular council meeting. It's 9:30, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. And I'm going to start off with the land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen is located on the Treaty 20 Mississauga territory of the Mississauga and Chippewa Nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations, which includes Curve Lake, Hiawatha, Alderville, Scugog Island, Rama, Beausoleil, and Georgina Island First Nations. The Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen respectfully acknowledges that the Williams Treaties First Nations are the stewards and caretakers of the lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure the health and integrity for generations to come. Next, I'll have a moment of silent reflection for council and staff to quietly reflect on the duty to the community that we represent. Okay, thank you. Okay, and I'll ask everyone to make sure your cell phones are off or placed on vibrate so it doesn't disturb the meeting. And I'll remind council of declaration of pecuniary interest. If it arises, you can declare it then. We have minutes here from the September 2nd meeting. I'll look for a motion that we receive those minutes if all is in order. Moved by Councillor Clement, second by Deputy Mayor Webb. All in favor, and that's carried. Okay, well, next we have 4 zoning bylaw amendments. So I'm going to look for a motion to go into the public meeting for the zoning bylaw. Moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, second by Councillor Doherty. All in favor, and that's carried. So our first zoning bylaw amendment here is, or I better start off with this is a statutory meeting held under Section 39 of the Planning Act. Any person may attend the public meeting and or make verbal or written representation either in support or in opposition of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment. Please keep your video off and microphone muted during the meeting until the chair invites comments regarding the planning matter. If a person or public body does not make oral submission at the public meeting or make written submission to the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen before the proposed zoning bylaw is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen to the Ontario Land Tribunal. If a person or public body does not make oral submission at the public meeting or make written submission to the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen before the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is passed, the person or public body may not be added to as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the Ontario Land Tribunal unless in the opinion of the tribunal there are reasonable grounds to add the person or public body as a party. If you wish to be notified of the passing of the zoning bylaw amendment, you must make a written request to the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen. So with that, our first zoning bylaw amendment is car, and I'll turn it over to Samantha.
Good morning, Council. Yes, this is a zoning bylaw amendment application for 48 Pirate 33. The subject property is located on Belmont Lake and accessed off of Pirate 33. The property is owned by Kimberly Carr. The agent on the file is Bob Prince. The subject property is approximately 0.32 acres in size. Next slide, please. The purpose and effect of this report is to present for the consideration and requisite approval of council an application to amend the comprehensive zoning bylaw in order to permit the redevelopment of a single detached dwelling unit while also introducing certain site-specific regulations. The applicant is requesting approval to construct a new recreational dwelling unit that is located further away from the shoreline than the previous dwelling, which has already been removed. The proposed dwelling will have a ground floor area of approximately 122.4 square meters, or around 1,300 square feet. A new holding tank is proposed as part of this application. Any proposed development on the subject property does face constraints due to the undersized lot path. Next slide, please. Zoning bylaw amendment application is requesting to permit a reduction of the minimum required setback between the dwelling and the high water mark from 30 meters to 24.29 meters, or around 80 feet. The zoning bylaw amendment application is requesting to permit the new dwelling with a rear yard or roadside setback of 5.45 meters, as around 17.92 feet, where 7.5 meters is currently permitted. I'm just showing in the little slideshow here, you can see the blue outline is the proposed dwelling, and it just sort of touches that existing frame dwelling that previously existed. And that was based off of a survey that was provided by the applicant. The subject property is currently zoned actually as the commercial tourist, so in the C2 zone, and is proposed to be rezoned to the special district 299 zone, which will apply the provisions of the seasonal residential zone, as the uses in the C2 zone do not apply. However, the redevelopment of the dwelling is intended to be utilized as a permanent residence. So there is, as part of the recommendation in front of council, is to have a road agreement to be registered on title with the applicant. Next slide, please. The application does represent a general improvement to the site through the increased setbacks to the shoreline. Following our review and assessment of this application within the context of the relevant land use planning policies, it is the township's planning opinion that the subject application conforms to the County of Peterborough's official plan, the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen official plan, the township zoning bylaw, and is consistent with the provincial planning statement. Planning staff can confirm that notice was provided in accordance with the Planning Act. Mail notice was provided to all homeowners within 120 meters of the subject site, and a property sign was posted. Happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So the opening remarks will go with all four bylaw amendments. I'll be asking 3 times if anybody's in opposition, followed by 3 times anybody in favor of the application. And that's the way the process will work for all of them. So for the first time, is there anybody wishing to speak in opposition of this application? Second time, anybody wishing to speak in opposition? Third time, anybody wishing to speak in opposition? Is there anybody wishing to speak in favor of the application? I'm not sure if the applicants are on here. If they are, anything they would like to add? Not seeing anything here, so second time, anybody wishing to speak in favor of the application? Third time, anybody wishing to speak in favor? Okay, so I'll open it up to council. What's your thoughts on this, or is your recommendation here? Looking at our web.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, pretty straightforward on this one. I'll make a motion to accept the recommendation of the planner, just with one question. The commercial tourist zone, I don't see many of those, so you kind of referenced it. Do we have many of those there, and what exactly designates something as a commercial tourist zone? I'm
unsure. I believe the applicant never utilized the property for any sort of rental cabins and cottages. That's typically what the C2 zone is the permitted uses are, including a lodge and things of that nature. The site is quite small. It was just a seasonal recreation dwelling that existed previously. So the use has always been more along the lines of the seasonal residential zone. We just see some funny things with zoning that some properties are just zoned differently. So moving forward, they would like to utilize the seasonal residential zone with the certain exceptions that they're requesting as part of this application.
Thank you for that, Smith.
Okay. All right then, so seconding the motion. Okay, all in favor of the motion? And that's carried. Okay, so the second bylaw amendment here is for Rye, and that's I'll turn it over to Samantha.
Yes, this is a zoning bylaw amendment application for 71 Firewood 94. The subject property is located on Cashabog Lake and access off of Firewood 94, which is owned by Stephen and Timothy Rye. The subject property is approximately 2.5 acres in size. Next slide, please. The purpose and effect of this report is to present for the consideration and requisite approval of council an application to amend the comprehensive zoning bylaw in order to rezone the subject lands from the rural zone to the seasonal residential zone as required for provisional consent approval for application B6724. Next slide, please. So that consent application B6724 was provisionally approved to create one new vacant seasonal residential building lot, comprising approximately 0.5 hectares or around 1.25 acres in size, with 46 meters of frontage on Cashabog Lake. The retained lands would approximately be 1.2 acres in size, with frontage also on Cashabath. A condition of consent was outlined in the County of Peterborough decision to rezone the severed lands to the seasonal residential zone to capture the intended use of a seasonal dwelling unit on the property. Therefore, to fulfill the condition of consent, the rezoning application was required to rezone to the seasonal residential zone. Next slide, please. The application, following our review of the assessment of this application within the context of the relevant land use planning policies, it is the township's planning opinion that the subject application conforms to the County of Peterborough's official plan, the township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen's official plan, the township zoning bylaw as amended, and is consistent with the provincial planning statement. Planning staff can confirm that notice was provided in accordance with the Planning Act. Mail notice was provided to all homeowners within 120 meters of the subject site, and a property sign was posted. Happy to answer any questions.
Yeah. All right, then. So for the first time, is there anybody wishing to speak in opposition of this application? Second time, anybody wishing to speak in opposition? Third time, anybody wishing to speak in opposition? Okay, is there anybody wishing to speak in favor of this application? I'm not sure if the applicant has anything to add. Second time, anybody wishing to speak in favor? And third time, anybody wishing to speak in favor? Okay, I'll open up to council. Recommendations there. What's your thoughts?
I just have one question there's no buildings on there right now, right?
Through you, Mary, yes, on the parcel, there is already a seasonal recreational dwelling unit and a few accessory structures, and that is to remain with the retained lands. So on the severed lands, they are vacant and are intended to be utilized as a seasonal recreation dwelling unit in the future.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay.
Motion.
All right, so that's moved by Councillor Clement. Is there a seconder for the application? Second by Councillor Doherty. Okay, any other questions or comments? All in favor of the motion? And that's carried. Okay, our next application is Buttermore. Sorry if I'm messing that up, but anyways, I'll open up to you or over to you.
Awesome, thank you. This is the zoning bylaw amendment application for 318 County Road 47. The subject property is located and accessed by County Road 7 owned by Brian Buttermore. The subject property is approximately 7.43 acres in size. Next slide, please. The purpose and effect of this report is to present for the consideration and requisite approval of council an application to amend the comprehensive zoning bylaw in order to rezone portions of the subject lands from the rural zone to the EP zone or environmental protection to protect the natural features on the subject lands from future development. Consent application B4425 was provisionally approved to create one new vacant residential building lot, compromising approximately 3 acres of lot area with approximately 109 or 359 feet of road frontage on County Road 47. The retained lands would be approximately 4.3 acres in lot area and would be compromised with the existing dwelling, shed, well, and septic system. A condition of consent was outlined in the County of Peterborough decision to rezone a portion of the retained lands to protect the natural features identified in their environmental impact study. Therefore, to fulfill the condition of consent, the rezoning application was required. Next slide, please. So as you can see here, this is just showing the area that's to be rezoned to the EP. So it's just a small pocket of green shown on the retained land that will be rezoned from rural to environmental protection. Next slide, please. Following our review and assessment of this application within the context of the relevant land use planning policies, it is the township's planning opinion that the subject application conforms to the County of Peterborough's official plan, the township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen's official plan, the township zoning bylaw, and is consistent with the provincial planning statement. Planning staff can confirm that notice was provided in accordance with the Planning Act. Mail notice was provided to all homeowners within 120 meters of the subject site, and a property sign was posted. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, so for the first time, is there anybody wishing to speak in opposition of this application? Second time, anybody wishing to speak in opposition? Third time, wishing to speak in opposition? Is there anybody wishing to speak in favor of this application? I'm not sure if the applicant's online. Second time, anybody wishing to speak in favor? Third time, anybody wishing to speak in favor? Okay, then I'll open up to council. Any questions or comments? Not, there's a recommendation, so.
Through Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve. It's always nice to see people severing off lots, building more houses in the community, so I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay. Moved by Deputy Mayor Webb and second by Councillor Doherty. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, our final zoning bylaw amendment is for Dylan. So that was Samantha.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, this is a zoning bylaw amendment application for 42 Fire 87B. The subject property is located on Jack Lake and accessed off of Fire 87B, owned by Jonathan Dillon, and the agent on the file is John Dillon. The subject property is approximately 0.94 acres in size. Next slide. Thank you. The purpose and effect of this report is to present for the consideration and requisite approval of council an application to amend the comprehensive zoning bylaw in order to permit the redevelopment of a seasonal residential dwelling unit while also introducing certain site-specific regulations. The applicant is requesting approval to demolish the existing seasonal recreational dwelling and construct a new seasonal recreational dwelling unit located slightly further away from the shoreline than the previous dwelling. The proposed dwelling will have a ground floor area of approximately 71.3 square meters, or around 768 square feet, and a new septic system is proposed as part of this application. Any proposed redevelopment on the subject property does face constraints due to the irregular lot fabric, the bedrock slope, and hydro lines. Next slide, please. The current dwelling has a setback of 3.7 meters from the high water mark, and the current deck is located 1.5 meters from the high water mark. The new dwelling is located further from the high water mark at 4.7 meters, which represents a slight improvement from the setback to the shoreline. As I mentioned, unfortunately, they're not able to push the dwelling back farther. As you can see, there's a significant slope, bedrock slope of the property. The zoning bylaw amendment application is requesting to permit a reduction of the minimum required 30-meter high water mark setback to 4.7 meters for the dwelling and 2.3 meters for the attached deck. The zoning bylaw amendment application is also required to decrease the minimum front yard setback from 21.3 meters to 4.7 meters for the dwelling and 2.3 meters for the attached deck. The zoning bylaw amendment application is requesting to permit the new seasonal residential dwelling with an interior side yard setback of 3 meters, where 6 meters is currently permitted. Next slide, please. The application does represent a general improvement to the site through the increased setbacks to the shoreline. Following our review and assessment of this application within the context of the relevant land use planning policies, it is the township's planning opinion that the subject application conforms to the County of Peterborough's official plan, the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen's official plan, the township zoning bylaw, and is consistent with the provincial planning statement. Planning staff can confirm that notice was provided in accordance with the Planning Act. Mail notice was provided to all homeowners within 120 meters of the subject site, and a property sign was posted. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, then. Thank you. So the first time, is there anybody wishing to speak in opposition of this application? Second time, anybody wishing to speak in opposition? Third time, anybody wishing to speak in opposition? Is there anybody wishing to speak in favor of this application? Second time, anybody wishing to speak in favor? Third time, anybody wishing to speak in favor? Yeah, I'll open up to council. Councillor Clement.
Through your mayor, so part of this is they do have to have a new septic?
Through you, Mayor, yes, I don't believe there is actually a septic on the property now, so they do have to install a new septic, and they have started that process with our chief building official and going through the septic review process.
Okay, and I will make a motion to pass it.
Okay, it's moved by Councillor Clement. We have a seconder for this application, second by Councillor Doherty. Any other questions? All in favor? Carried. Okay, thank you, Samantha. That's the end of the amendments. I'll look for a motion to go out of the public meeting. Moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, second by Councillor Doherty. All in favor? Carried. And we're back into the regular meeting. And we're going to move into planning report. So you can't go anywhere, Samantha. So the first planning report here is for Cara with regards to a road agreement with Pledge.
Through you, Mary, yes, this is in regards to that first zoning bylaw amendment application that we did receive. As a part of that recommendation, it was to authorize staff to bring forward a road agreement to be registered on title. That essentially outlines that the applicant understands that they will be having permitted permanent occupancy on the subject property. However, they understand that there are no emergency services and things of that nature as they are on a private road. So they won't necessarily, they would still be available. However, they understand that it's not like we maintain fire routes or anything like that. So it's just for them to understand that in terms of liability and things like that on a permanent resident on a fire route does come with some other implications. So that agreement will be registered on title following the meeting.
Right then, any questions for Samantha? If not, there is a recommendation. The comments? Moving the recommendation. Is there a seconder for the recommendation? Councillor Doherty seconding it. Any questions? All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, the second report here is for Rye with regards to mitigation agreement.
Through you, Mayor. Yeah, this is another condition of consent for the application is to enter into an agreement with the township implementing the recommendations of the EIS.
Okay. All right.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve is moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, second by Councillor Clement. Any questions with that? All in favor? And that's it. Okay. The next one, another mitigation agreement for Pettimore.
Through you, Mayor. Yes, the exact same situation. A condition of consent is to enter into that environmental agreement with the township to implement the recommendations of the EIS that were completed as part of the consent application.
Okay. Recommendation there, so I'm just moving it. Second by Councillor Doherty. Questions? All in favor, and that's carried. All right. Moving right along, the next report here is assuming certain lands on Belmont Force line.
Thank you. Leah, I do just have the presentation there. One more. Perfect, thank you. So yeah, as council is aware, Belmont Township Fourth Line is a roadway that's accessed off of Highway 7, which is just east of the Havelock urban area. Next slide, please. So a survey was completed as part of the consent application B12921A for 391 Belmont Township Fourth Line that was provisionally approved on May 5th, 2025. And in going through the process, the survey identified that part of Fourth Line directly in front of that subject property. So you can see the blown up area in my presentation that identifies, you can see part 3 and then part 4. This part of the roadway is a traveled roadway. It's actually not owned by the township. This portion of roadway is classified as a forced road. It was never actually established as a public highway, nor ever assumed by the township. However, historically, this forced road has been maintained. It was actually just never assumed by the township. So in going through the consent application, this is identified, and the applicant is willing to provide the township with the lands in which a few bylaws are required. So planning, building, and public works staff have reviewed the survey and also worked with legal opinions from our solicitor and determined that this portion of Belmont Township Fourth Line, as it has been maintained and acts as a traveled road, dedicating, acquiring, and assuming the lands as a public highway is appropriate. Next slide, please. So this is actually just from On Land, which is the Land Register Office mapping. As you can see here, you can actually see Fourth Line comes down, and then the portion that's highlighted in red is actually the private property. And you can see that the traveled road actually just stops on either end. So that just it does indicate to us that this actually was never in the township's name. However, the Municipal Act does allow us to pass bylaws and acquire, dedicate, and assume roadways by bylaw. Which is why you're seeing all of these bylaws and recommendations here today. We've identified no concerns with the dedication and assumption, and it's council's consideration for the enactment of the bylaws and to direct the municipal solicitor to register the acquisition and assumption bylaws, what's in front of council today. I can answer any questions.
All right then. So always something popping up though. All All right, so we do have a recommendation here. Is there what council's thoughts? Councilor Clement?
Through you, Mayor, so we've assumed this maintenance of it forever. So I think we might as well assume the road. So I'll make the motion, accept it.
Yeah, through you, Mayor, for these forced roads, like they've, I don't know how many years Fourth Line has been there for, but sometimes these things happen and they don't really come up until planning applications go through the process, we get surveyors out, and then these things do come up. So it's appropriate, and working with the solicitor and formulating these bylaws are planning staff's opinion to be appropriate for the next step.
Thank you. Moved by Councilor Clement, Councilor Doherty.
Questions. The owners are aware of this, and this is not changing anything that is already going on. So in other words, we're just bringing the land, the ownership into the right spots. Okay, I'll second that.
All right, second by Councilor Doherty. Any other questions? All in favor? And that's okay. And the final planning report here is temporary use on Fire Road 36.
Perfect, thank you, Mayor. Yes, this subject property 25 Fire 36 has been operating as a cottage rental resort on Round Lake. The subject property is zoned as that commercial tourist, that C2 zone we've seen a few times here today, in which a lodge and rental cottages and cabins are listed as permitted uses. Next slide, please. Council has received a request from the owner of the property at 25 Fire Route 36, requesting permission to relocate one existing cabin, sort of identified it again in that blow up. There's a little red star there on the location that they're looking to relocate one existing cabin. And the use of 3 trailers is shown in a little blue star over on that side. The use of 3 trailers during construction and production. The existing relocated cabin and the required trailers will be removed following the completion of filming on the subject property. And the intent of these structures is to be used for private offices, relaxation space to support the ongoing filming activities. None of these structures will be used for habitable space nor hooked up to any sort of sewage systems. So all temporary structures will not be required following the completion of filming, which is approximately October 10th, 2025, and will be removed. The applicant is requesting that temporary use agreement to be executed to permit the temporary structures on the property. There is a fee of $1,800 for the temporary use application, and that has been received, in which $200 is retained as an administration fee. And then the remainder is utilized for legal fees to ensure that the agreement is registered on title. As the relocation of the cabin and the use of the trailers during construction and production will be temporary, it is appropriate for council to agree to the agreement. Happy to answer any questions.
So we do have a recommendation here. Councilor Doherty.
Recommend.
Okay.
Recommend the recommendation, I guess.
All right, moved by Councilor Doherty. We got a seconder for that. Second by Councilor Clement. Any questions?
This construction's gonna be complete by the end of this October or October next year, sorry.
Through you, Mary, October of this year. So there has been construction on the site. They have gone through the building permit
Okay,
process
gotcha.
for those, which obviously isn't necessarily a public process like the zoning bylaw amendments and things of that
Gotcha.
nature.
Yep.
However, there has been construction on the property,
Yes.
and they're just looking to utilize these structures until the end of construction.
That's fine, thank you.
Went by yesterday, lots of activity over there, so.
Lots of activity, absolutely, yes.
So, okay, so I have a mover and a seconder. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, thank you, Samantha.
Thank you, Captain.
All I have is the reports.
Good job, thank you.
All right. We're gonna move into staff reports for information. We have a number of them here. We have the fire incident report for July and August. Council remuneration expenses for January to June. Social media insights from XF. Building department activity report for August. Parks and Rec department update for August. And report that about the car show that's happening this weekend. So is there any questions with regards to these reports for information? Okay. No questions, I'll look for a motion that we please follow the report. As presented. By Councillor Clement. Do I have a seconder for that? Second by Deputy Mayor Webb. All right, all in favor? And that's carried. Okay. All right, so we have some staff reports, or staff report for follow-up action, and that's with regards to the library fire separation, fire stop. Dodge. Yes, it's that.
Good morning, Mayor Martin, Council. So yes, we have a report here for the fire separation and the reflection of the library. The purpose is to obtain council's approval to award the tender. It's recommended that SAW Developments is awarded the tender for the amount of $49,150.08, and that's to be funded from the administration reserve.
Okay, then. All right, so the recommendations on the agenda here. Any questions with regard to the recommendation or a comment? Go ahead, Deputy.
Yeah, I'll move the motion to approve the motion or recommendation rather. Just with one question, do we have a time frame in terms of when this work will begin?
Through you, Mayor Martin, we do not have a time frame. We haven't reached out to these folks yet to see their availability.
Thank you.
Okay. Right then, would have been nice to have known that here just for, but anyways, okay. All right, so we have a mover. Do we have a seconder for it?
Seconder.
Seconding the motion. with
Yes,
comment?
and the motion with a question. The start and completion date are pretty important date. So are we going to put any parameters or just approve the work being done when they can do it or what?
Through you, Mayor Martin, after they were awarded, I was going to reach out to them, see when they were able to do it, and we can figure out completion or start and completion from there, if you like, or we can go about it a different way.
Yeah, I think it would have been nice if that was a part of the tender, but I don't know if that's normal or whether we do stuff like that, but it is important to know when they're gonna start and when they'll be finished, but so you have a mover and a seconder. Is there any other questions around that? Go ahead.
Well, we have a tenant there and
Yeah.
that's what makes it important, whether they're gonna move out, whether we can accommodate them while the renovations are going on, but I don't know what's reasonable in terms of time for it, but the shorter the better, I guess.
Yeah.
The quicker, the shorter the better.
Through you, Mayor Martin, so yes, Councillor Doherty, the plan was to move a tenant from one side to the other so that the work can get completed.
So could that be in the motion as far as upon reasonable time? I don't know if that's possible to put it into the motion, but we don't want them to come back and say, yeah, we'll be there next year. Like we're hoping it's within, this year. So I just wonder if that was added on, if that was added on there, that that report will come back at, when they're gonna start and hope that it's reasonable. And like Jerry said, I don't know what's reasonable. But I would hope by October, that they would be getting started, but
No, Mr. Mayor, no, I was just gonna ask the same thing in terms of putting some kind of time parameter. I don't know whether October might be a little quick, but
yeah,
maybe Thanksgiving, like October 15th, the middle of October, that would give them a month. I wouldn't consider it a major job for companies like this, so I would ask if that is something to the CAO, if that's something that.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Martin, I think you can include in your motion a deadline to get the work done, and you award the tender based on the fact that it will be done by a specific date, whether that's end of October, perhaps would be reasonable, I think.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yeah, my question was around kind of more, because I don't really know how long it's gonna take them to do the job. So I was looking more at a start date. Obviously, like you said,
Oh, I
that,
see. Okay. start.
yeah, because I don't know if it's gonna take them a week or if it's
Yeah,
gonna take
fair
them a
enough.
month,
Okay.
right? So, but yeah, a start date of,
Yeah.
as I said, October 15th.
Yep.
I don't know if
And that'll let us review it again,
With the
like that,
second.
just add that into the thing, like I know if it wasn't in the tender, they may say it wasn't in the tender that they were planning on later, but if we don't hear a reasonable times for a start date. You know, we may want to relook at this, so if that was okay with the mover and seconder, that we have it, you know,
Start date.
October 15th start date.
I'll move
Or
15th,
thereabouts.
if that's okay with everybody else. Okay.
That's okay with
Yep.
the mover and seconder? Okay. All right then, so that's added into the motion. That we approve this company with a, you know, a start date of October 15th or sooner. Okay. Got a mover and a seconder, all in favor of the motion. And that was carried. Okay, thank you. Okay. All right, so next on the agenda is correspondence action items. And this was with regards to the gate for the community center. Lady sent an email while I was on holidays and asked about the gates, and I know staff's working on it, but Deputy Mayor Webb.
Okay, just through you, Mr. Mayor, yeah, I've received some calls and emails as well about this for actually the past couple months. Seemed to die down when obviously when school was out, but now we're back, the kids are back, so I'm not sure what staff is looking at, but I'm hoping there's a way that we can. They said the gates are gonna be open here in a couple weeks anyways, come Thanksgiving, so if there's a way we can work some kind of traffic around the back there, I think it would be helpful. More than anything for just keeping people such as this woman here kind of driving around in circles in the parking lot looking for somewhere, right? If we can kind of maybe get some signs of like we had last year, kind of directing them off King Street around through the back and then out. And as long as I said, I don't know what other construction's going to be done over there. So I mean, if the construction people are going to need that back road, then obviously, but I haven't seen that back road been blocked off by any of the construction. So I guess I'll ask you is that road, are we foreseeing that road will stay clear here for throughout the rest of the construction?
Through you, Mayor Martin. So yeah, what we're kind of thinking with that is coming through King Street, head towards the north for drop off. But then since the entrance to the arena is on that west side, we're gonna put a construction fence from the arena to the ball diamond near the ball diamond washroom area. If we do it up any further, if they come down without a place to turn around, it'll be a bit of a situation. The only thing, and baseball is going till October 6th, so we can't open up in front of the canteen yet. So the only thing about that is we would be inviting the possibility of two-way through that loop. But we do have one-way only signage already in place. We could add more signage to enforce that.
I think, yeah, I'll leave that up to you guys, but I thought the signage you had last year seemed to work pretty well, and I live over near there, so. Yeah, I think something like that hopefully will flow the traffic, and obviously we'd have the other gate open on the other side of Matheson East, right? When we do this.
We can do that, yes.
Okay.
So I was at a school council meeting last night and they understand the problem that can be caused if we got two-way traffic going through there. The kids aren't used to cars coming both ways and it could cause a problem. I just said to them that staff will be looking at this. It's on the agenda today and we'll come up with some sort of a solution. We need to understand the construction, like you say, it's changing every day. Like it is an active construction zone that there may be some issues around that. Especially when they start working at the front end there, or if they start working at the front end. So I think for today, if we could get a motion that we direct staff to come up with a solution here and bring it back to the next meeting, that would probably be, like you say, baseball is going till October 6th. They understood that too, that it's a problem coming around the back, but we did look after it last year and hopefully we can take care of it this year to make something that works for everyone. The drop-off zone is a problem there, especially if you ended up opening it up to two-way traffic. it would be better if they dropped the kids off in the parking lot instead of across from the bridge. But there's lots of things for you to work out. So for today, I would suggest that we look for a motion to direct staff to work on this and bring something back to us at the next meeting.
Can we do that?
Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor Webb. We have a second for that. Second, Councillor Clement with a comment.
When is baseball over?
Through Mayor Martin, October 6th.
And our next council meeting is October 7th.
Yeah, but they can come up with a plan. Yeah, so that works.
Okay, gotcha. Yep, that's fine. I'll second it.
Okay. Questions? Go ahead.
Question, Chair. Is there not a drop-off area at the school?
It's congested with buses, so that's why everybody uses that side.
I understand that, so, but there is a drop-off area at the school.
You know it better than I.
Yes, there is, to the mayor's point, in my recollection of the dealings over there is they discourage parents from coming in there because, as I said, there are 3 or 4 buses that park there every morning to pick up the kids that are going to Norwood Intermediate and Norwood High School. So it is kind of, I think, been the policy of the school to direct parents away from the parking lot and over to our roundabout that we have over by the rink. We stop the congestion of coming, because there's only one entrance in and out of that parking lot off Matheson East. So now that's something that maybe could be taken up in the future with the school. In that, we are kind of scratching their back in a way in terms of letting them use our property to drop off their kids. But in terms of that, my recollection has been as that way. My kids went there, been there for the last 7 years, and it's always been like that. Because I dropped them off in there one day and I was approached by one, I don't know if it was a teacher, but somebody from the school, and they asked me to not so much not come in, but they'd prefer if we used the loop around by the rink rather than come in and drop the kids off in the parking lot because of the buses, because of the teachers coming to and fro. So.
Okay. We do have a motion on the floor. The seconder. All in favor of the motion? And that's. Okay. Josh. So we don't have any information items. The next item on here is the liaison report. And county update.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, just quickly, just for the information for us, the council, we did have a presentation on the high-speed rail. So I think Leah's going to put it up here on the screen, and it's available on the county website under agendas. If you like, I'll just walk you through it here in about 30 seconds to a minute. To the next one. So here's the proposed stops that would be along the route. I believe the route's a little over 1,000 kilometers and will run from Toronto to Quebec City. All the places you see on that map that are labeled will be stops and have stations. And so nothing in between any of those places, no stops or stations. Go ahead, Lydia. Maybe the next one. This roughly gives you an estimate of the travel times between the different cities along the route. Kind of travel times today with the current rail system that's up, and then obviously the high-speed rail will get time savings on the far right. These are the project outcomes hope to achieve by bringing this new high-speed corridor between Toronto and Quebec. Go ahead to the next one. Here we have, these are just quickly their estimated economic impacts on the region. So you get a productivity of 21 billion, increased workforce of 2.7 billion, and a little under $1 billion for increased tourism. One more, sorry, yeah. And they basically have the timeline for the project. So obviously you can see just a short halfway mark there. We are here. So they've completed the procurement phase. They're moving into the development phase, and at some time in the future, of which I have no idea when that would be, it will move into the execution phase. So still many questions around this. Most questions that came out of the county were around obviously timelines and cost. both of which, unfortunately, the presenters didn't have many answers for. But it's all, as I said, there's a few more slides there to get more in depth, but if you'd like, it's on the county website. It's a quick read. You can get through it in 5 minutes. So
Through you, Mayor. Just a question I have with economic development and the tourism.
Yeah.
So, economic development and tourism, that would be for the cities that where it's gonna stop.
Yeah.
Right? That's not the small guy in between, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
and through, it's represented as for everyone. But to your point, that was a lot of the questions that came from members of council at the county in terms of what exactly is this going to do for communities like ours? Because as I see it, others see it. That brought up the mayor. I think you're on the same page. Once this is in place, basically this train will be running 200 kilometers an hour from destination to destination, not stopping. So communities like us in between, while we might have some kind of benefit from local contractors or whatnot getting involved in terms of the capital project, after that, yeah, I don't know if we'll see a whole lot of economic spin-off here, because basically nobody's going to be stopping here. They'll be driving through even faster than they are now. So, but that's one of the things that members of county have brought up in terms of maybe having a second look at this, or maybe adapting what they're looking at in terms of adding a few more things that might bring benefits to those people in between these large cities. So.
Well, to add on to that again, like, right, if they get off of Peterborough, they're gonna have to rent a car to come out here anyway. So that would be my big concern is bigger places will get the development, they'll get the benefit out of this. We're gonna see a train going by at 200.
And no, that's a good point, in that some of the reasons given for the benefit, or one of the benefits seen coming out of this was for the reduction of greenhouse gases in terms of people using less cars. Well, I don't know if I see that, because to your point, anybody from our area that wants to take the train is still gonna have to drive into Peterborough or somewhere else to take the train, right? And I think it would be a lot better if there were stops in these communities where people could maybe either just drive a short distance to the train station, or maybe even walk to this train station in their town, get on the train. But I mean, if you're gonna push that benefit, that's what they're pushing. I don't think they've really seen through the whole idea of what they're trying to say, right? So
One more point, I used to love riding the train, like it did every little stop, we did Cavan and Peterborough all the way to Toronto, but I loved it. I mean, it just, to me, this is no benefit to us. I mean, I understand the greenhouse thing, I approve of that part, but this is no benefit to us. So.
I think, and through you, I think people that have lived in this town a lot longer than me, a few that are out there in the audience today could tell you, yeah, the train has always been a big part of this community. I remember back when I was very, very little, there was a train that used to run out of Toronto, come out of Toronto every Friday night, back when the hotel, the Havelock Hotel was rocking, and people would, just to your point, not necessarily people from Havelock, but people would come from Toronto, come down here, night in the hotel, maybe spend the rest of the weekend in town. And then there'd be the Sunday night train, between 5 and 6 that could take them back to Toronto.
Yeah.
Those kind of things, I think, if people looked at that, might be more beneficial, where, yeah, you find a spur where you run it out into an area like this, right? And run one back. And maybe it is only once or twice a week. It doesn't have to be daily, right? But it seems as though in a lot of these big projects, as usual, the rural people get overlooked, and they're put there to try to satisfy those in the big cities. So.
Yeah, so I've been involved with this since I first got elected to county council as deputy mayor. I was on Shining Waters Railway, which was a subcommittee at the county. And they're the ones with Dean Del Mastro and those people, they were the ones that started the idea of high frequency, which we were involved in really heavily in Havelock, because we have 95 acres over here. They were looking at it for a train grooming station or whatever, where they would work on the trains. We weren't guaranteed a stop here, but we were in the discussions, and I went to several meetings, and the high frequency to me was a lot better than the high speed. The high frequency, we did have an opportunity of maybe having a train here. They were going to share the tracks and they were going to look at how they're, like, we have Cobia to the north who relies on these railway tracks that need a lot of upgrade. Via was going to take over the railway tracks, and they were going to share the tracks. So they were going to be upgraded for Via. So it was going to benefit you know, the industry too. This high speed, when we met with Emma, I did tell her that, I don't really like this idea, but I'm not a big player in this thing, but for Havelock-Belmont-Methuen, we would be better with high frequency. And, you know, and they had it really far along, like at the beginning there, when I was going at the beginning, they said within 2 years, and I'm talking probably 10 years ago, they could have had it to Peterborough within 2 years because the tracks are there. It was just an upgrade, get it into town. Now they don't even know where it's gonna come as far as Peterborough. It could be in Cabin because to get that, these are all raised railways. They're not just crossing on level crossings. These are bridges that they gotta build at every crossing. It's expensive. That's why it's so expensive. So like you say, I don't think a lot of thought, I don't think they were listening to the rural people, but you know, it will be good for a lot of people. There's, you know, no matter what, if they do it, but it might not be in our lifetime. I don't.
Just to your point, as the mayor stated, he's had a number of discussions around this topic also at the meeting and during this presentation. The warden Bonnie Clark was kind enough to point out to the proponents in terms of the fact that, as the mayor said, you have 90 some acres here. We'd love to be a part of this project, whether that comes to fruition, but I thought it was nice, as they said, we are trying to keep ourselves on the map for these people. So if something does come open, it just seems that they said, we've been doing this for a number of years, as Jim just referred, he's been doing this for probably 10 years. We keep telling them that, but every time these plans come back to us, there's nothing with Havelock included in it. So, which is kind of frustrating, right?
Okay, Bob?
Through you, Mayor Martin. So the folks that made this presentation, is it still the Shining Waters group, or is this a whole new group and a new plan?
Shining Waters was a group from the county.
Right.
They were, no, this is the consultant that they hired
To do the actual,
to do the
yeah.
work.
Oh,
Yeah. So that came out a couple of years ago. They went out to tender and this is the company that got it. So
To me,
it is moving.
they didn't. When they make the presentation, they said, like, the presentation was made as though, you know, here, we're really moving along here.
Right.
I don't see a lot in this presentation that a lot of us didn't know what, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. So there's not a lot of new information on this around, as I said, timelines, costs,
Yeah.
the things people really want to know about, right? So.
Okay. All right, so that's the county update and thank you for that. So we have councillor activity report and Councillor Clement, you had Association of Municipality, you had a report from there. And library board meeting agenda minutes, agenda from August 21st. Was there any questions for Kathy with regards to that? Councillor Doherty, go ahead.
Through your chair, how's the cleanup going for the
Good thing, oh, sorry. Good thing you asked, Jerry. We're having another meeting, 26th of this month, and we're gonna review that and hopefully at some point invite everyone out to take a look.
Okay, so there's a, oh, go ahead, sorry.
Sorry, yeah, I just wanted to thank the councillor for notes on the AMO conference. I was unable to attend this year, so very nice reading your notes. I felt like I was there, so did that.
Good. Yeah, and I was there too, and I can echo a lot of things she said there. I get a lot out of the networking, but there was some good seminars there too to help understand some things or not understand. So so next on the agenda, I have cemetery board meeting minutes from October 4th and April 11th. For your information. And there's lots happening there. We do have a new caretaker hired on at the cemeteries, and they're doing a great job. If anybody's been by them, they're looking really good. So good. So no
Motion.
receive all the reports. Moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, second by Councillor Clement. All in favor, and that's carried. Have any written notice of motion before me? Is there any oral notice of motion for today? Hearing none. Other business? Catch up here. Oh, the shop local.
We do that
Is there
after.
anything? We can do it after?
We typically do it online.
Okay.
We can see if we're ready for that. I can go check. Just one moment. Here we are.
Perfect
Listening in.
timing.
Okay. Well, for this week, we had 59 entries for a total receipt value of $2,568.53. Our year to date is 610 entries for a total of $40,266.31.
Maybe Jordy can do it this time.
Yeah.
Jordy, were you drawing a ticket into there?
Three businesses were, number one was Foodland, number two was the Ranch Restaurant, and number three was Crossroads. So will you help us today?
You pull one out of there, Jordy?
I'm not signed because you're not staff yet, so.
Well, do you want to come over
Get
here
up,
on
get up.
camera?
Get them up here on camera.
Okay, here we are.
Turn around.
Cigarettes.
You see it.
Oh, I don't know.
Here you pick it.
They're all a whole bunch.
There is a whole bunch.
No, they're together.
Oh, it's folded. We're good to go. Let me just see who that is. Heather Peeling
How they feeling?
and her entry for Foodland.
Very
Terrific.
good.
So Heather Peeling.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ray.
Thank you, Brent.
That's all I had for business. Or other business. So we're gonna move into bylaws. And there's a lot of bylaws here. So the first four bylaws are with regards to the zoning bylaw amendments. We have for car. There's one for Rye, one for Lettermore, and one for Dillon. They're all zoning bylaw amendments that we dealt with earlier. So moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, second by Councillor Doherty, all in favor, and that's carried. Number 5 is car with regards to some more items that we discussed in the business there. Moved by Councillor Doherty, second by Deputy Mayor Webb, all in favor, carried. Next couple are with mitigation with regards to Rye and Buttermore, okay, thank you. So moved by Councillor Doherty, second by Councillor Clement, all in favor, and that's carried. Number 9 is to assume certain lands here on the fourth line there, so 8 and 9, okay. So it's moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, second by Councillor Doherty, all in favor, carried. And number 10 is the bylaw to for an easement with regards to
Temporary use agreement.
temporary use agreement. Thanks, Bob. So moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, second by Councillor Doherty, all in favor. And okay, so we do have a closed session to go into, so I'm gonna look for a motion that we go into closed session. Held under section 239(2)(e) and 239(2)(e) with regards to personal matters and litigation. So Deputy Mayor Webb and Councillor Doherty, all in favor, and that's carried. Now just take a. Okay. Nothing coming out of closed session. So confirming bylaw for today's meeting. Art.
Oh,
Kathy?
yeah, I did that. Sorry, yeah, you give me the look too, sorry.
Okay,
I know I'm on.
I didn't-
Turn.
motion to adjourn and
Yeah, give it
to Harry and her.
Oh.
It's
Yes. I didn't even think you raised your